Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Go Big or Go Home. I am Old Man Troy, joined by the marvelous youngster Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. Again, folks, nothing going on in the world of college recruiting right now other than probably some 2050 commits, and we're definitely not going to talk about any 2050 commits right now. But, youngster, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. There was as I just looked now, just to make sure that we weren't missing like the number one player in the country committing to Ohio State or something. Ohio State got like a top 30 basketball recruit. But we can talk about that for like 5 minutes, but it's the off season. Big Ten football media days start the 23rd, and they go on, I think, only the 23rd and 24th, if I'm not mistaken, which is next Monday and Tuesday. So we can talk, I guess, if something comes out of that. It's a lot of coach speak, in my opinion. It's, hey, here's where our team's at. If Shea Patterson, Michigan's quarterback, tore his ACL and we didn't know about it, and that comes out of it, then it's like, okay, we can talk about something. But until something like that happens, we're going to do macro level stuff. And right now the World Cup, just ended. So in the world of the Big Ten, there's no insane, it's cool that Ohio State got, this top 5 point guard recruit for 2019, but it's 2019. So it's cool. It's news, but, we're not going to go in depth about it. So overall, Troy, got a haircut today. Marriage is in less than a month. Might have to get another quick trim.
You got a haircut today?
Well, see, my hair was getting...
I would imagine you're going to probably get your haircut, and if I know your fiance a little bit, I do from her little interaction on social media, she's going to make you get that haircut like 3 days before. That's about the right time to get it cut because it's got to, grow back if it's not perfect. It's like 3 days to a week. So
I know.
She's not letting you go with no haircut a week before that wedding, youngster. No way in the world.
I wouldn't either because it just annoys me. So that's the thing is my hair was annoying at this point. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get a haircut now, and then 2 or 3 weeks from now, probably going to get another one. But it is what it is. That was my overarching fun for the day, and a bunch of dreary weather. But I know, I'm sure your day was more exciting than mine.
Not really. My day was not very exciting at all. I just worked. The great thing was I didn't have a meeting today, and I was already complaining to you. I don't want to sound like I'm a whiner, but it is hotter than the devil's coop up here. And I know you live in it every day, but I hate humidity. I can't stand it. And the air conditioner in my car is broke. So I'm sweating profusely, especially doing this show because I can't have the windows all the way down. Otherwise, it'll be too much background noise. But my other complaint was, I don't know how in the world, leaving an hour and a half early, I get stuck in worse traffic. I don't understand it. During the supposed rush hour, I'm moving faster than I am now. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. Pittsburgh transportation system, I'm just going to put it this way, flat out sucks. It's terrible. It is the worst highway system in the world. But that's all I got. I'm going to take a drink because I'm sweating all of my fluids out. I'm going to let you talk, youngster. We'll get started on the World Cup.
So, like you said, we're talking about the World Cup. And for those loyal soccer fans, not even U.S. soccer fans, but, we see the numbers on who watches these shows. Some people do. Obviously, people don't as well. But, since this is a Big Ten-based show and we've been talking about the World Cup, numbers are different than when it's the middle of college football season and Ohio State's about to play Penn State and there's something that listeners want to hear about. This is soccer without the U.S., and so if you're listening to this show and you listen to our World Cup preview and our round of 16 preview and going into the games of the quarterfinals and stuff like that, you're obviously a soccer fan. And if you remember way back when we did our World Cup preview, I believe that's when we said we would do this, or either that or the second show talking about the World Cup, whatever it was, I promised listeners that I would do something. And now that the World Cup is over, and France scored 4 of these, Troy. France scored 4 of these. What France did, what France obviously beat Croatia. I mean, everyone who's listening to this understands that. They won 4-2. They won by scoring 4 goals. So that's pretty good, youngster. If I could take my hands off the wheel and clap, I would, but I can't. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was really good.
Thanks. I could have gone a little longer, but I felt like it was getting annoying at that point, so it's like, all right, I'll just
we don't want the listeners like clicking off the link.
Yeah,
so that was a smart move. But like you said, France took care of business. We thought they'd take care of business. 4 goals. I know Croatia, in my mind, Kevin, maybe has one of the best midfield players. I mean, you looked across that line. Can't call a tandem. It's like four really good midfielders. I don't know what you'd call that. But, France, we thought they'd take care of business. I think they just outmatched Croatia. Hey, my hat's off to Croatia. I don't think anybody in the whole universe thought that Croatia would make the World Cup final. And good for them, but they really, in my mind, if not the best midfield group, it's got to be top 3. I mean, you look at the names. I mentioned that on the preview show. They just couldn't get it done. France was just more skilled, top to bottom, player 1 to player 11 on the field. But, man, that Croatian midfield is a good one. It was a good game, Kevin. France took care of business. 4-2. That was a pretty high-scoring game. So for those fans out there that complain, well, soccer's boring because it's only 1 goal, you got 6 goals in this final. Yeah. So I don't know how many people actually watched the final, but, man, I thought it was a good final. Congratulations to France. I thought Croatia had a great run to the World Cup final. Good for that country. What are your quick thoughts, youngster?
Well, me watching the entire thing, and just looking back at the stats now, it's like you see the shots on goal, you see the corners taken, you see the number, the passing percentage. France had more yellow cards. Croatia, to me, almost played a better game. France finished more, I guess. But the other thing, my key takeaway, well, there's one huge, not necessarily huge, but it's something that if a show is talking about the World Cup or a segment on a sports talk show is talking about the World Cup, and it's like, hey, France beat Croatia 4-2, Hey, what'd you think of that handball call where it wasn't called immediately on the field? It was like, hey, this might have happened, so let's check the replay. They basically stopped play to check the replay. The clock keeps running, but it went to the officials from not, necessarily right there on the field, but wherever it is. I don't know if they have headquarters. I don't remember. Or if it's somewhere in the stadium up in a press box and they're watching it. I don't know. But they basically stopped play to say, hey, let's check this out. We think that, I think it was a Croatian midfielder, actually, that had a handball on, I believe it was a corner that France was taking. And, they reviewed it without it being called that on the field. They went to video review, and it showed the Croatian's midfielder, defender, whoever it was, his hand clearly hit the ball. To me, and people have said, and there have been, these soccer expert analyst guys, on Fox, CBS, ESPN, wherever it is, whichever, show you watched basically directly after the World Cup. They were talking about it, and a lot of them, it seemed like it was like, yeah, I guess technically it was the right call, but in the World Cup final, I don't know if you stop play and review it and actually make that call. And to me, my take was, again, if it's the right call, then it's the right call. If his hand touched the ball in the box, okay, then you concede a penalty kick. That's what happened. France scored it. Croatia had an own goal as well. That's how France basically got up in this game early. But that, to me, I don't know what you thought about that, Troy, but if that's the rule, that you can't have or you have a handball in the box as a defender, okay, you concede a penalty kick. It's pretty clear-cut, simple. It was easy to see on replay that that's what happened. And France got the basically go-ahead second goal, whatever it was, penalty kick shot, converted, and, France basically controlled throughout for the most part because they had, a 2-goal lead at one point. So I don't know. To me, there was not much of a controversy. It was just, hey, we think this happened. It did. It's obviously a huge part of the game, and I'm sure it helped affect the outcome, but to me, it was the right call, and I don't necessarily second-guess it or think you don't make that call because it's a World Cup final. If that's the rule, then that's the rule.
Well, you're going to have half of the people that agree with it and half the people that disagree with it, Kevin.
I don't know how you disagree.
Well, the thing is, the people that disagree are like, why are we replaying this? And here's the reality. The reality is, in all the world of sports now, we want to engage technology because we want to speed the game up. We want to get it right. I'm going to tell you what. I played the game at its purest form when referees made mistakes, and guess what? It sucks. It sucks when they make a mistake. But you know what? The world still went around, Kevin. It still went around.
Sure.
And so when you look at this, okay, those people that are complaining that Croatia conceded a penalty kick, it was the right call. They got it right. You get a handball in the box, it's a penalty kick. But you know what? Those people that are complaining about it are probably the same ones that like the technology. And if it went the other way and, it was to take a goal away or whatever, well, you got to replay that. Everything in today's sports, to me, now you're getting me going. We're not even supposed to be talking about this stuff. Technology in sports, to me, is not good. I like old-fashioned stuff. I understand you want to get the plays right. You want to get it right. But in soccer, the clock runs. And that's why I love the sport of soccer. I love playing it. I love coaching it. But there's human error. The human error in every sport, baseball, football, I understand you want to get it right. That's why the games take so much longer. Because now you go to replay, and everything's got to be perfect. I don't care. I loved sports 20 years ago. I love sports now. Why can't we go back to the old way and let the referees screw up? I mean, it happens. I know there is a place for replay, but you know what? Those analysts that say, well, it shouldn't have been done in the World Cup final. Well, if you're calling to have technology integrated into the game in any form, then it doesn't matter if it's a World Cup final or round-robin play. You got to do it. If you don't like it, then get rid of it. Get rid of replay. Get rid of technology and go back to the old way. That's never going to happen. But you know my thought here, Kevin. I'm an old-school guy, and I've talked about it. I understand replay. I understand why it's there, and I'm not going to sit there and say take it away. But these guys that complain about it, and especially the ones that say, well, it was the World Cup final, so they shouldn't have done that. Well, no, stop. Stop that. Because if it's in play, and that's what FIFA wants to do, then it doesn't matter if it's a World Cup final or the first game of the tournament. It has to be done. And so those that don't like it, then you should protest to get technology out of the game. I personally, Kevin, I don't think technology should be in soccer. But there's so much controversy because referees make mistakes. Guess what? Everybody makes mistakes. And I understand the scope of the game. But to me, just go back, let the referee call the game. You got two linesmen. I know that they added like a second referee, blah, 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 because mistakes get made. And that's the way the world is. And that's the way the controversy is going to go, Kevin. People are going to agree with it. People are going to disagree with it. To me, those that disagree and say, well, it was a World Cup final, too bad. FIFA wanted to replay. It has to be done. That's all I got. You got me all worked up again.
Yeah. I apologize. I'm more, I think, pro replay than you are. But I don't know. I just can't imagine watching. That's
because you're in that millennial crowd, youngster. All you millennials like the replay, want the replay. And the old guys like me, we just like the games the way they were. I'm a traditionalist. I like the games the way they were. I had no problem when mistakes were made. Yeah, it was something to, this is a podcast, so I can say it this way. It was something to bitch about. You bitch about the referee. I mean, that's the way the world was. That's how I grew up. I understand replay, and like I said, I'm not against replay. I just like the old way. It was the way it was. Sports are great, and sports have changed. So, that's because you're a millennial. That's why you like the replays. That's all, youngster.
Maybe that's it. I think we're in the same, at the end of the day, we're in the same boat that I realistically don't want to see replay called basically ever, except unless it's like, hey, we think a handball happened in the box, so a penalty kick should be awarded. I don't think there should be a replay for, I think a yellow card could have happened on this slide tackle. Let's go back, stop play, and do a replay on it. No. I think if there's an obvious thing, like the ball crosses the line for a goal and it was missed, yeah, that makes a difference. That should be replayed, in my opinion. Every yellow card here and there, no. Some spotting calls, like where a ball should be placed. The NFL spending 5 minutes on whether the ball's on the 39 or the 38.5-yard line. That stuff can go away.
I'm going to chime in real quick, youngster, here. The
Sure.
one place in replay that I think would really work for soccer, and it's already there, is on goals. Because there are times, like the way the NFL does, they review every scoring play.
Right.
But the thing is, in soccer, I don't want them to go back and review what led up to it, like the cross, blah, blah, blah. But if it was on the touch line, maybe the ball went out. And maybe it should have been called out. I understand that, but like the handball one that you're talking about, man, it's a tough one. I'm just like, play on. But there are goals, too, where the ball isn't completely over, the ball didn't cross the line, blah, 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 the goalie stopped it, it's between his legs. I understand those review plays, and it's okay to me, and I have no beef. You're going to stop the game for 2 minutes to review the goal to make sure that it was a legal goal. I'm fine with that. The way the NFL does it, great. I mean, you can't do it in basketball. You'd have to stop every, 10 seconds, or youngster, every shot clock. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But in soccer, I would be okay if they wanted to stop the game after every goal to replay it just to make sure that everything was legal. I'm fine with that. So I wanted to just interact there because there can be a place for replay in soccer, and it's on goals. But like you're saying, all these other little ticky-tack things, see, I'm even against, the handball. I mean, handball in the box. Okay, well, are you just going to say we're only going to review possible handballs in the box? Well, then there's going to be a team that gets all upset about that. Then they're going to have to expand it, and that's the problem with replay. Somebody gets all up in arms, and then they got to expand replay. Well, if you're going to replay that, you got to replay this, and then replay that, and then replay that. And all of a sudden we get to everything's got to be replayed. That's where my problem is. Not just with soccer, with all the sports. Because they keep wanting to say, well, then we got to replay this, and then we got to replay that. I don't like that, youngster. Take it away again.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. I don't disagree with you at all. I feel like this, and again, once you start, like you said, once you start expanding it to, hey, it might have been a handball, then what about every other call leading up to that? So I get what you're saying, 100%. I think because this seemed so obvious to, like, review, and it's like, God, that looked like a handball, that's important. But I'm with you once you start digging into the finite details of the game as opposed to just was this a goal or not, then I understand what you're saying, is that people will bitch, like you said, about every single call. Because, yes, literally every single call matters. Every potential yellow card potentially matters because a guy could get two of them instead of just one because one in the 17th minute didn't get reviewed, and so instead he only has one yellow card instead of two, and he gets kicked out of the game, and the game changes because it's 11 on 10. Instead, it's 11 on 11. So I understand that every call can certainly be reviewed, but you don't want to stop play like that. To me, I guess this is where I would draw the line on soccer is if you think something in the box is that obvious, that it's like, okay, this was a handball. We need to review this because everyone outside of the two line judges believes this needs to be reviewed. And rightfully so. It proved rightfully so. But I understand what you're saying, that you don't want to stop the game on multiple instances, and especially if it starts pissing people off about, well, if you replay that, why not replay everything? I get where you're coming from. Ultimately in soccer, in hockey, if it takes you 2 extra minutes to review a goal to make sure that it's correct, so be it. That's that's my take at it, but I'm 100% in agreement with you that I don't want a replay kind of ruining the flow of the game. I think that's ultimately what fans don't want, is that replays take so long, especially when it's on crap like ball spotting in the NFL or whatever, and it takes an extra 3 to 5 minutes. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Let's just go. This game's going to take 3 hours as it is. Let's not expand it an extra 15 just on ball placement stuff. So I absolutely understand where you're coming from. I think in the end of the day, we're on the same page. We might be a little different on, oh my God, a handball in the box. Some people will think that should be replayed, some won't. But anyway, to get away from replay stuff, I thought that Croatia played right with France. I think there was a replay call like that helped a goal. I think Croatia had an own goal that certainly helped France. On a set piece, I think it was. And then the ball got elevated by one of Croatia's defenders on the wall to get out of the goalie's reach. So that was in goal. I think that was the first one. And then the second for France, either second or third, was that replayed handball. Certainly made a difference, because Croatia statistically and just on the field looking at it seemed like Croatia was right there with France, if not outplaying them in certain aspects. So I feel bad for Croatia, but hats off to France for scoring 4 goals in a final. That's a lot. So if you're a casual soccer fan and you didn't think this game was entertaining, then I don't know. Then stick to watching the U.S. in the World Cup every 4 years and watching 3-4 soccer games every 4 years, I guess. But I thought this final was entertaining. I guess we could dive into other stuff with it, but ultimately I think Croatia played with France. That replay thing, got people talking, but I don't need to dive into anything, youngster, as far as the game goes. I mean, the listeners are tuning in a little bit. I mean, it's been a couple days since the final. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I look at it from the standpoint that seeing Croatia make that run, it allows you to look and say the juggernauts got knocked out. And that's, to me, that's what the fun and excitement in the World Cup is. I talked about it before the tournament and said, man, what a watered-down tournament. And I still will say that. I mean, you look at Croatia, but I think that helped getting Croatia into the position they were in with not as many powerful teams in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And people will say, well, the upsets, and you know what, the upsets did happen. And that's great. Upsets can happen in every game. And you know me, youngster, I like upset. I always cheer for the underdog. But I think having the lack of the Italy's, I got to throw the U.S. in there. Not that they're a world power, but the U.S. was better than a lot of teams in this tournament, Kevin.
They beat out Portugal 4 years ago to get to the round of 16. The U.S. is something. They're not great, obviously, but they're something. And obviously they pique interest in this country, for sure.
Well, they do. And if they would just figure out how to get that whole U.S. developmental program going and keep that, I mean, again, you know where I could go with this, youngster, and I refuse to do it on any of our shows because I would just go off for like 2 hours on where I think all the problems are with U.S. soccer. It's one of those where we'd have to actually be sitting at some bar having a few adult beverages and having me talk, because I honestly probably couldn't do it on a show, because what I talk about then spiderwebs off into all these other areas. I mean, the U.S. soccer, to be honest, if you break it down and people say, well, if we do this and do that, yeah, we can do that. So in a nutshell, what I'm going to say, the problem with the U.S. is there's so many problems that come from one problem, then another problem arises. It's a mess from top to bottom. And it's just, somebody's got to come in with a true nationwide philosophy. And being the great nation we are and being as big as we are, it's hard to do that. It's hard to get the same kid playing in the same system on the West Coast and then on the East Coast. That's part of the problem right there. These kids grow up playing different systems. When they grow up in Croatia, Kevin, they're playing the same system from the moment they can walk until they're on that World Cup team. In the United States, you can go across the river in Pittsburgh and find a different system. So these kids are having to learn new systems every other year, every third year, every fourth year, whatever it is, and that's part of the problem right there. That's why our teams don't play well together. And, again, I could keep going on and on and on. But back to the World Cup final, like I said, hats off to France. I like Croatia. I love their midfield. You know, and like you said, they hung in there. They played, and I like the World Cup final. Because some people will just look at the score and say 4-2, man, that must have been a blowout. No, I don't think it really was.
No.
You know, Croatia conceded 4 goals. That's what the score sheet will say, but they put 2 in. And it almost reminds me, you heard the story about when I talked about losing to Lewis University when I coached soccer. It almost reminds me of that. We played a great game, we just lost. And Croatia, same thing happened, a couple bad breaks, but they were out there. They played a good game, nothing to hang their head about. They got there. They deserved to get there. They had a great run in this World Cup. I'm not going to say they're going to go into 2022 and be a favorite, but this is a team that if they can keep that midfield together, well, maybe people won't overlook them in 2022. I have nothing else on the World Cup. Do you, youngster?
Yeah, I've got one thing. I'm looking something up right now. Well, I just found it. One thing that people want to talk about, too, is that Kylian Mbappe, who I talked about since the start of the tournament because he was on PSG as a 19-year-old, which is by far the top team in the French league. He's on the top team in the French league as a 19-year-old, and he broke out a lot this season as well as last season when he was 18. But he made a name for himself for the extremely casual soccer fan as well. In this World Cup, he scored. He was the first teenager to score in a World Cup since Pele did, back when he was a 17-year-old, way back when. Mbappe is going to be a superstar. And it's like, well, if France can have Mbappe as a 19-year-old superstar, why can't the U.S., you know, especially since you're going to be hosting the World Cup in 8 years, you see Mbappe doing this as a 19-year-old, and it would almost surprise me if he didn't join Real Madrid at this point because they just left Ronaldo go, and because they didn't want to pay him. He's getting older. They want the next top young superstar to be the next Ronaldo at Real Madrid. I think they're probably going to get Mbappe. That's just my casual soccer take. But so in the U.S. in this country, we have football, we have basketball. In other countries like France and Spain and these other countries that don't care about the NFL, and the NBA is cool, but it's not what kids at age 3 are doing. They're not shooting basketballs. They're playing soccer in other countries. And you see what other people make in soccer outside of this country and the MLS because the MLS is just crap. You talk about Ronaldo last year made $58 million. Messi, this is on contract, not endorsements, not just pure contract. $58 million for Ronaldo. I think Messi was $53 million. That's, you know, LeBron made $31 million last year. That's nothing compared to international superstar soccer players, you know? So in this country, basically, you know, we have the NFL, you know, paying Le'Veon Bell, who's an extraordinary talent. The Pittsburgh Steelers reportedly offered him a $14 million a year deal, and he declined it. But that's Le'Veon Bell, you know? That's by far and away the top running back money that's going to be made, and he, you know, is franchise tag, making $14.5 million, I think it is this year. So ultimately, though, outside of Ronaldo, outside of Messi, I mean, you get guys making around $30 million, and in the MLS, if you play soccer in this country, you know, you grow up and you can watch the Premier League, you can watch the top Italian league and French league, and Mbappe, you know, playing in Paris, but at the end of the day, growing up in this country as a kid, what do you want to do? Grow up and play soccer, which is what, the 4th, 5th most popular sport right now in the country? You know, you're not going to play basketball, you're not going to play football, or even baseball, or even hockey. You're going to choose soccer. And the MLS, which the top contract this past year was $6.5 million, compared to, you know, the quarterbacks and even Le'Veon Bell getting shysted on $14 million a year. That's still over double what the top player in the MLS made last year. You know, do you grow up as a 3-year-old, 5-year-old saying, hey, I'm going to play soccer and be great at soccer so I can go overseas and never see, you know, my family or friends, or I grow up until I'm 16 years old and then, all right, see you later, family, friends. I'm going over to Spain to play in their league because they're going to pay me more. You know, no. You know, you grow up and everyone's talking about football and basketball and not soccer. So just because Mbappe has this great tournament and he's 19 years old, why can't we have that? It's because we don't care about that.
Oh, well, that's another one of my issues about World Cup soccer for the U.S., youngster. You could get me going why we don't see 19-year-olds tearing up the turf. But I'm not going to. I'm just gonna let it be because you'll really get me going because that's actually one of my main points of emphasis. And I'll say it in a nutshell, it all becomes political. Again, it's regionalized, Olympic development team, travel teams, tryouts, it's all regionalized. And if you're some kid from Hodunk, Pennsylvania, and you don't play on a super club, well, nobody knows you.
Right.
And I think I had alluded to this on, I don't know if it was on our Saturday show or on this show. When I was growing up, I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So when you hear the word Green Bay, Kevin, what do you relate to Green Bay?
Soccer, right, Troy?
Yeah, soccer.
Or the Packers.
For
one
sure.
Of those two.
So who comes from Green Bay to play soccer? These guys can't be any good. They're football guys.
Right.
And on the flip side, like I told you, the guys that I went down to the tryouts for the state team, we were all better than half the team that got selected.
Right.
And no big deal. I eventually, at 1 year, me and 2 or 3 other guys, I don't remember, so long ago, we eventually made the state team, but we barely saw the field. And we were still better than some of the starters. The problem is we were from Green Bay. We didn't play in some super club, and we didn't play in the mainstream soccer of Wisconsin. Yes, there was, you know, the hotbeds in Wisconsin for soccer. Well, we were from Green Bay. And so to wrap up, the point you made, Kevin, you'll never see that. Because all of that great talent, unless they're playing on the super clubs, unless they're playing with name recognition, they're hiding in the weeds and they're getting overlooked. They're getting overlooked. That's a huge problem to me. And there's no way to fix it. There's no way to fix it. That's all I got.
Yeah. I just, ultimately in this country, we care about football and basketball. You know, that's where our top athletes are going to go. They're not going to go to soccer to make $6 million a year. They're going to choose football. They're going to choose basketball, even baseball, with its guaranteed contracts. You can take steroids and get banned for 81 games. That's fine. I still got my guaranteed contract. You know, you watch soccer in this country, and it's crap at the top level in the MLS. Kids overseas can look and see the Premier League and see the Calcio A and see La Liga and see the Bundesliga and see the French League. And it's like, okay, these guys are making $58 million, $53 million a year. I think I'll play soccer. You know, we don't have that. Soccer is not our top sport. That's my, I guess, last take on, you know, this World Cup, the U.S. team in general, what to expect 4 years from now, 8 years from now. Like you said, Troy, you don't think you'll ever see the U.S., let alone win, but making like a semifinal in your lifetime would be like outstanding. And I agree with that.
Right now, I'm praying they can advance out of the group. I mean, that should be a given that they advance out of their group at every World Cup. But
yeah,
in 2026, I mean, we don't even know for sure if they get an automatic bid or not, Kevin. I mean, there's 3 countries. I've been looking to see if they're going to honor 3 automatic bids for host countries. This is a shared host. So what are they going to do? Is everybody got to work their way in and they got to qualify in? Because normally when you're the host, you get an automatic bid. I don't know if they're going to give 3 automatic bids. And I can't find it anywhere. So if anybody's listening in that knows, are they giving automatic bids to 3 host countries? Because it's not really 3 host countries. It's North America.
Right.
It's not the United States. It's not Canada. It's not Mexico. It's North America. So are they going to forego the automatic bid? I'd like to know. And I'm being totally serious. If anybody listens to this podcast and knows the answer, find us on Twitter, at TroyRobert967, at KidCunny, or our show handle, at YoungsterOldMan. I would love to find out, Kevin, because I don't – oh, go ahead.
I'm looking, Troy, right now. Last Friday, we're recording this on the 17th. On the 13th, this New York Times article came out, and it said that it's not clear. FIFA hasn't made a decision as to whether there will be automatic bids for Canada, the United States, Mexico. That's 3. It's not just Russia. It's not just Spain. It's not just Portugal. It's 3 countries. So it's tough. When you have 32 teams make it, you're going to automatically include 3 of them, that maybe don't deserve to be there, like Canada or us, like this past World Cup.
I understand the automatic bid for the host country. If you're hosting the World Cup, your country needs to be in there.
Yeah.
But this what they're doing with the North America thing is totally different than when the United States hosted last time. Games are going to be played in Canada. Games are going to be played in Mexico. So what do you do? Do you say, well, good luck, roll the dice, hopefully you qualify? Because then if you do that and the U.S. doesn't make it, oh, my gosh, the stadiums will be – well, I don't think the stadiums would be empty. But I don't think you'd have the same allure.
We would – I mean, any chance we had of becoming a top 16 type, perennial soccer country that it's like, hey, we're in the World Cup, we should be able to make it into the round of 16. I think that can happen in the future. If we don't even make the 2026 World Cup when we're hosting it, you want to talk about a dying interest in this country for soccer, that would put the icing on the cake if we didn't even make our own World Cup.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what, youngster, I think we have talked the ears off of our listeners today. Thanks for listening in. Again, find us on Twitter, at TroyRobert967. The youngster is at KidCunny. And find our show handle, at YoungsterOldMan. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll get back at you next week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about in the world of the Big Ten, but we'll find something to talk about. Have a good week, everyone.